now here you are in the hot seat. What you gonna do? And then I remember thinking to myself, like, so you was judging your mom for drinking or for getting high. You sitting here with a gun in your mouth.
You speak with such a assurance and calmness about yourself.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it's always been like that. Have you always been real calm and speak?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I get that from my mom. I'm very reserved, and actually, growing up, and even now, depending on who you ask, they would tell you I was quiet. But I always say, sometime if you feel like I'm quiet, it's probably because I probably don't fool with you. You know what I mean? Because I can talk.
So you're not really quiet. You just
Yeah, I would say
just
more
picking your
reserved.
spots.
More reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It make me wonder. When's the last time, like, because I know you're a God-fearing man.
Yes, sir.
So when's the last time God beat the devil so hard in your life that you was like, I'm talking about you, like it came out of you, the guy came out of you, and you was like, yeah, I beat that devil down, and you was so proud of yourself. And also, the last time the devil beat out God within a situation, and you was like, I could have did better, I should have did better.
That's crazy. I would have to say that is that happens all the time,
Really?
depending on the day. Yeah. Yeah, depending on the day. When you step out your house, you're fighting battles, and that's why you have to have your armor on. You have to have your spiritual armor, your mental armor, your emotional armor, you know what I mean, your physical armor. So you step outside your house, you're being attacked, financially, so many different ways. So that's a constant battle. That's a constant battle. Even fighting within your own thoughts. You know what I'm saying? That's where a lot of the fighting goes on. Is here. So yeah, a lot of times people always say, "Man, you're so confident, you're so poised." But to be very honest with you, I'm human. I'm like everybody else.
Yeah.
The devil can get in my ear, about things and try to misguide me, and make me second guess things, people, myself, and that's where the faith comes in. Because I always say faith and fear are the same thing. They require you to you know respond to something you can't see. You know
Say
what I'm
that
saying?
again?
I said faith and fear are basically the same. They require you to respond to something or believe into something you can't see.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of times fear, you can't see it, you just feel it. Faith, same thing. So which one you gonna lean into? You know, so that's a daily thing. You know.
Can you remember one of the times that you was, not even recently, just one time that you was like really disappointed that you like had to go there?
Yeah, that's any time at this big age.
Big age.
You know what I'm saying? At this big age, at almost 50, yes.
You look good, brother.
And thank you. Anytime that I lose my temper or I start getting them thoughts of how I used to move, I know that I'm losing. You know what I'm saying? I got to correct myself. But see, that's the part that I have is the self-checking, being self-aware, you know.
How long does it take? Because I be having those moments too, but I feel myself getting real dark. Like
Yes.
it gets heavy.
Yeah.
Like I can't explain the feeling. It's just there. Like it's dark, and I know that anybody to say anything, so I just have to respond to everybody like this.
That's right.
And like,
Yeah.
so I don't go crazy on nobody, you know what I'm saying? Because I'd rather the guy showing me, actually everybody who, I ain't gonna say everybody, but most people who deal with me are used to the guy coming out of me in these later years.
Yes.
So to present another side, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm actually scared of that.
That's right.
Scared of where I can go.
That's right. Yeah. You live life long enough and it'll teach you how to live. You know what I mean? So you get better with
hard.
with maturity, right? So you understand what your triggers are. You understand how to deal with you, through lived experience. So yeah, we all deal with that, what I mean? Especially when you coming from our environment, because we're kind of programmed. Society has done a number on us, mentally and emotionally. The social engineering just coming from our environment. It's not making an excuse, but when you talk about systemic racism, it's the ripple effect of that. Because we were put in these environments that were very hostile and very broken. You know what I mean? So with all of that, of course, you have all these things. You have broken homes. You have all kind of trauma. You have struggle, you have plight, you have, and people respond differently to those things. So I think a lot of what you and I, probably because mentally and physically, we're not in those spaces anymore, but, we still kind of suffer from the remnants of those things.
Speaking of broken trauma, I heard you talking about losing one of your friends, accidentally killing another one of your friends, and also, I believe within the gang culture, seeing one of the homies kill, not one of the homies, I don't know how many of them was, but kill one of the other homies, wrap
Yeah.
them up or whatever.
Yeah.
What did that do to your psyche?
Oh man. Yeah, that in real time, you don't know. You're just living and you're responding to it. Like as they say, hindsight is 20/20, right? But when you're going through it, you're just dealing with it. So what I do know is that those things made me fearful. They made me fearful. They did. And with that, it caused me to, like everybody else, I'm sure, you create an exterior, a protection. You know what I mean? So like I said, when I always say Court Dog protects Courtney, you know what I'm saying? And Big Court. Court Dog is the one with the braids who gonna crash out. He a torpedo. He don't care about none of that. He has no value of life. He doesn't, it's whatever. So that's how Court Dog was developed. And it really came by way of fear, because when you're in those situations, so, in my household, I was raised on love. It was love, but you have to still go outside and deal with the elements, right? So in my household, I'm not taught these things. It's not about selling dope. It's not about being active. It's none of that, right? It's love and nurturing and education in my household. But when you go outside and you see this homeboy gets killed, this homeboy, gets killed by the homies, this homeboy got jacked for his Jordans and they shot him. So you like, oh shit, I'm not gonna be victimized. I'm not gonna let this happen to me. So you respond in fear, but then what happens is, you tool up, you prepare yourself, and let's just say something happens, whether it's a fight, whether you didn't have to get down on somebody, and then nothing happens. You don't go to jail, nothing, there's no repercussions, but there's adulation. So now your community and your peers, they respect you. You getting that positive, that those affirmations from somewhere else, and it get good to you. And now what you find yourself doing is perpetuating the same thing you was fearful of. Now you become part of the problem.
You become the monster.
You become the monster, all out of fear.
Yeah.
And then you get desensitized to it. Then it becomes just regular, what it is. And I didn't really realize, just until you are blessed enough to pull yourself out of the environment for some time and then come back, you don't realize how fucked up it is. So once I moved to LA and I moved to Brentwood, which is a very prestigious neighborhood, and just being in LA and just being so removed from the element, then when I would come back or I would hear things, it would seem like, damn, that's crazy. That don't make sense to me. The same shit that was just second nature to me when I was here,
Yeah.
So that's how I dealt with that.
Was you ever in Louisiana
As far
during
as,
your No Limit days?
No.
Okay, it was just LA. So as far as because you just gang affiliated.
Yes.
But I see you have a lot of like respected people from the streets on your
Yeah.
platform and connections to them.
Yes.
Can you explain like the difference in the culture from here to there?
Yes.
The street culture.
Yeah. So here, it's no secret. I'm from the 40s, the faux block,
Yeah.
which was more or less colonized by Crips in the 80s when they was coming from LA, mainly 60s and East Coast. And so in the 80s, what would happen is you would, whoever the niggas was copping they dope from, that's who they aligned themselves with. So if it was Blood, then that's what it was. It was Crip, that's what it was. My neighborhood was Crip. But in the early 90s, I was kind of known for running with SSP, Southside Posse, which they were in the 60s. So that was my gang affiliation. I never considered myself an active gangbanger. Now, I understand how some people got it confused because of the cats I was running with. Now, when you talk about LA, it's very different. And I got in trouble for saying this before. And I didn't mean it, in a condescending way, but in a real way. A lot of times these other cities that adopted the Bloods and Crips is a little watered down. You know what I mean? And the reason I said that, I just simply said because in LA, if there's Hoover, right, it's Hoover for a reason, Hoover Crip or Hoover Gangsters. There's different factions even within Hoover, but it's Hoover because of the street Hoover. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was corny when somebody in Omaha is claiming Hoover. There's not a Hoover Street. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
at least if you're gonna adopt this bullshit, at least kind of make it your own. You know what I'm saying? And call it a street that's there. You know what I mean? So that's what I meant by that. And when I say it's watered down, not to say that it's less deadly or devastating, but in LA it's generational. You know, you have people that are born into it. They inherit beefs. They uncles, they daddies, they family is from sets. You know what I mean? And it's just what it is, and it's crazy. It's way different than what I've experienced. Probably kind of like Chicago with the BDs and GDs, but in terms of here in Kansas City, we merely adopted it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We wasn't born into it, so we had a choice. Not to say they didn't have a choice, but we had a choice. And so, I mean, it is what it is.
Would it make sense to, because I completely understand what you're saying. Why would we don't have that street here? So why
Yeah.
would you be Hoover? But usually in those cases, it'd be somebody who came from
That's
Hoover
right.
who
No,
put
absolutely.
people
It
on.
put them down. Yeah. It's still to me, it's a degree of sunning someone. It's like you're not initiated. You're not on. Let me put you on, little nigga. Even if you are your own, you know what I mean? Let me make you, because they do that in LA. In LA, that's why the culture's different. Like even Nipsey Hussle, his street name was Lil Thundercat. But he was Lil Thundercat because Cowboy was Big Thundercat. So they do that. They tend to have Big Monster, Little Monster, Tiny Monster. You know what I'm saying? So in essence, that's what they were doing. It's kind of, in a way, almost sunning you. You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna put y'all down. Y'all gonna be our little homies because y'all ain't really up on. We faster than y'all. You know what I mean? So that's how I took it as I got older. That's how I looked at it.
When you went out there to LA, did you find yourself diving deep into the culture? Not that you were getting into the street stuff, but like really embracing and wanting to learn more about the stuff, like the monster codes and all of that.
Not really. I'll be honest with you, bro. Just in real life, I'm just genuine and real, and people rock with me. You know what I mean? And I know how to. I can operate in both worlds. I know the difference between my street friends, my Hollywood friends. You know what I'm saying, and my real friends. So, no. I think a lot of times that's where a lot of out-of-towners get in trouble. I recognize that even though I've been in LA almost half my life, I'm still not from there. It's something to say when you talk about cats that's growing up in the sandbox, that went to school together. There's still a bond there that's going to be different, So I learned not to get mixed up into politics, and it can get murky. It can, even in this content space, because when you start getting too close and you start, then you start getting in the middle of stuff and not even trying. Then you get forced to try to pick a side, And a lot of cats are, enamored with that gang culture of LA. So they will try to, oh man, I'm with the Pyrus, I'm with yeah, I be with them, that's family. And it's like, nah, bro, you're not from there. You can be cool with them, but you don't need to be hanging with them. You know what I'm saying? Because like when you see some of these celebrities that it's crazy because when they get involved with the politics and they have these associations and these alliances with these gangs, it's like, dude, you're on tour, you're away, you're working, 7, 8 months out the year. You don't even know what's going on in the hood. You don't even know the enemies. You don't know who just got into it last night, right? But you flying this flag, fancy free, and you don't even know that the set that you so-called align with that got into it with these, you don't even know what's going on, and you flying the flag because it's not your world. It's not. Wow, I always thought that was just backwards.
It is, but it's crazy how
Yeah.
like the rich,
Yeah,
their cool is looking to be like
yeah.
the street culture or whatever, and the
yeah.
street culture just want to be rich.
Now, exactly, but I'll say this, and I don't want to necessarily snitch on the culture, but LA is, I love LA. It's my home, right? It's my other home, but their game is something different. Some of that comes from, I don't want to say extortion, but it's a level of soft pressing kind of sort of manipulation. You know what I mean? It's all in the game. You know what I mean? So yeah, they give you a look. They give you protection. You know what I'm saying? Like for instance, I've had a few people that I've had on my show or some OGs that I know from prominent sets, right? It's something as small as if there's an event and they'll say, hey, yeah, you going to that event? And yeah, I might. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Well, shit, we got you. It starts with that. You know what I'm saying? So me and the homies, we gonna watch your back. You with us. We got you. So it starts with that little thing. And so now when they do that, it's like being in prison when you take a favor from somebody.
Yeah, I was just thinking
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like when they do that, now they start to feel like they're entitled or you owe them one for something, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And people, a lot of cats, like I said, man, they mesmerized by that culture. So they fall for it.
Yeah, I've never been the type to, and I understand people trying to get ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Been the type to want to do favors just to get something. That's why I do stuff and expect nothing back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
That
right.
way I'm not hurt in the end
Yeah.
by nothing. Or
Yeah.
I everything I do, I feel like come out the kindness of my heart.
Yeah.
Like I would never give somebody something and be like, remember when
That's right. Yeah.
if me and my wife, God willing, we don't divorce, it ain't no give me no ring back. It ain't give, you know what I'm saying? So I just never understood that stuff, Going back to your household though, you were raised by your mama, auntie, and your grandma?
Yeah.
Your grandma. Did you feel like you were missing something by not having your father in the household? I know he wasn't completely absent, but you know what I'm saying? Do you feel like you missed something as a
Oddly enough, my wife and I have talked about this for years, man. I did not. I didn't. I don't know why. I think it's because you really can't miss something that you never had. And it may also speak to how efficient and effective my mother's love was. So she compensated for whatever that male presence that was supposed to be there. I never knew it to miss it.
Yeah.
Or want it. You know what I'm saying? So maybe if we had been together and they split up, maybe it would have been different. But I never knew it.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
As far as you have a son and
Yes.
2 daughters?
Yeah.
2 daughters. Is your son the youngest?
Middle child.
He's the middle child. So when you had your daughter, right, you was
Yeah.
already,
Yeah.
tough.
Mhm.
Did she soften you up a little bit?
No, because I was not really, because I was still young. I was 16 when I had my daughter. So behind closed doors, I'm working on being a man. You know what I mean? And trying to figure me out. Who softened me up was my wife.
Talk to me.
Yeah, because my wife grew up in the church, both parents. Our past are completely different. She had a Nigerian father who was like my father, who was very strict, very education, very, hard line. So it was the proverbial good girl falling for the bad boy. You know what I'm saying? So it was her that would, because she prays for me even back then, even today. You know what I mean? Everything is, what would Jesus do? She'll hit me with them Bible verses. So I think that's who softened me up. So not necessarily my daughter, because I had her so young. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I was figuring a lot of stuff out at 16. I remember my wife told me one time, and it made me sad a little bit, because she told me that when we were young, because she's 2 years older than me, and when we had my daughter, she said how in the back of her mind she was already kind of prepared for me not to be around. And not because I wouldn't want to be around, she had already prepared to bury me. She figured that, she was like, yeah, I never said nothing, but I just knew one day I was going to get that call, that something had happened to you. So I had kind of already, and I was like, wow. But hindsight, you don't really know, all of what you're doing. And I don't even really consider myself had really done. I don't feel like I was out there, but, maybe I was.
You was kind of preparing for that too, though, right?
A little bit.
Like with stuff you was putting in place.
A little bit. A little bit, yeah.
So why it hit you so hard when she said it?
At that point, it was jail I was preparing for,
Facts.
not death.
But you knew, being in the life that you was, it was.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Because, man, listen, I hustled like a businessman. I wasn't ever a trapping type dude.
Yeah.
I wasn't in no dope house doing
Yeah.
no shit. That just wasn't me, right? I knew that. Now, don't get me wrong, going down to Texas and right there in Mexico, anything could have happened when I'm going down there to do what I'm doing, right? And he can kidnap you, all kind of, especially when you're talking about six figures that you spending. So I understood, the danger there. But more or less, I felt like I was kind of insulated from that because I moved so surreptitiously, But, in the early 90s, because I went to jail when I was 15, it was that period where, hell, I kind of thought it a little bit too. It was always in the back of my mind. I was just in this purgatory of trying to, my mom was going through things. I'm living with my dad. We don't really know each other like that. I got this child on the way. I'm out of jail. I'm in the streets. The streets are crazy. It's a lot of stuff going on. I'm toting guns. I'm getting into shootouts. I got people looking for me. I don't even know through other people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was a scary time.
Yeah, that would be.
It was a scary time.
That would probably be why she was.
And I'm an
Like
only
she
child.
was.
I'm an
Yeah.
only child. So I always tell people, I didn't have nobody to go get. When I'm dealing with these elements, I had nobody to run to. It was just me. You know what I'm saying? No older uncles or brothers or nothing like that. I had to deal with everything by myself.
So it's hard for me to believe that, like, with all you had going on, you can be as present as you needed to be within the household. You know what I'm saying? So where do you feel like you fell short at times when it came to, especially as early as 16 with
Yeah.
your daughter, and the times when, I know a lot of times we go through stuff within the world and then we come back and our girl or our wife gets the butt end of it. So if you cool with expounding on like some of those things that you feel like you fell short in those times, and even now, like, because you're still a busy man
Yeah.
and you still learning.
I don't know. I can't say really, to be honest with you, because I raised all my kids.
Yeah.
Even at 16, I was very present. I would say where I may have fallen short was maybe the emotional part, being emotionally available. And I think that came from just a lack of immaturity. I didn't grow up with an example of what a husband looks like, what he does, how he operates, how he deals with his kids and his spouse, and I had to figure that shit out, on the job. So probably I would say that just maybe not being as emotionally available and mature as I could have been in instances.
Was you a kid that looked at the TV screen and was like, because I know I used to look at the Huxtables and be like,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
that'd be because I never seen that except on the
Yeah.
Huxtables.
That's
And I'm
right.
like, man, I would want that. Or I look at A Different World and look
Yeah.
at Dwayne and
Yup.
Whitley and
Yes. Yes.
who was one of those relationships you looked at and was like, man, that. And I also used to root for Steve and
Yeah.
to get Laura though.
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
was
yeah.
like one of those, Martin and Gina, the relationship you looked at and like, man, if I can.
I can't even say that I thought that, but I will say this, and I would tell my wife this. I would laugh. I mean, I don't know if it's pertinent to your question, but I remember watching Freddie Jackson's "You Are My Lady" video. You remember?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, I know the song.
Okay.
I don't know the video.
Okay, so the video, he had the pretty black girl in there, and he's singing to her and shit. And I just remember, like, man, I want me a woman like that.
Yeah.
And so in the back of my mind, that video and that song would, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. And as far as your, you and your Rachel,
Yes.
y'all relationship seems to be very, very close. So
Yes.
I would imagine in the year, I in fact heard you say, and I don't know it verbatim, you was like at time, like now that she's 30 or
31.
she's grown, you have to like, and she played on it too, like just, she was like, you want to be a parent right now or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
What's the struggle with like trying to like calm down on your parenting and let her live versus I need to bite down?
Yeah. Really can't bite down. She's 31. So all I can do at this point is make a healthy suggestion. No more than I could bite down with you or this gentleman. You know what I'm saying? You guys are grown adults with your own mind, your own decision. I can't make you do anything. I can't impose my will upon you. All I can do is say, hey, I'll make a healthy suggestion. You know what I'm saying? Or in my opinion, I would do this. That takes practice, and that's not a transition that happens without issues, So, my daughter and I, yeah, we always been close, but it hasn't always been perfect. No family is, right? Because you go through those growing pains, and not only her growing as a young adult, but also as a parent, you have to grow too. You have to grow with your child, and you have to know when the relationship is evolving. How she was at 10 or 12 is not how she's going to be at 21. Just like how she was at 21 is not how she is at 31. So you have to grow and you have to meet them where they are and who they evolve to become. Because if you keep trying to deal with her as a 31-year-old woman, as you dealt with her when she was 15, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You're going to frustrate yourself and you're going to cause division, amongst you. So, yeah, you just have to be, you got to be fluid, man, and you have to grow. And it's hard because, yeah, the parental part of you, that's always there, especially for me because I've been a parent 85% of my life. So it's innate for me. It's innate. And then my mother was very, very, parental. You know what I mean? So, it was a difficult. We went through our difficulties, but it always works out though. It always works out.
You like music? Soul Child, Teach Me How to Love. Wasn't that him?
I'm not familiar with it.
Teach Me How to. That's how I go about my parenting.
Yeah.
Too, cause I don't know. Like I thought I knew.
Yes.
I thought I knew. It's always my way.
Yeah.
You can't. And I know a lot of parents don't believe in being friends with your kids, but I do.
Yeah. Really?
I do. I believe that I'm still your parent, but I'm your best friend.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That because if I don't allow you to feel like I'm your friend, you won't come to me and tell me the things that you go tell somebody
right.
you perceive to be your friend.
That's right.
So I always and I say my kids parent me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're teaching me how to be a better parent.
Right.
Because like you said, we're babies just as much as they're babies
Yeah.
as far as parenting, not in
Yes.
life, but
Yes.
just parenting.
Exactly.
So that's how I always humble myself with my.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my daughter had a real talk on this platform he had recorded, and I let her put me on the grill. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And one thing that one thing I didn't know was like tearing her up inside is that my communication and not being able to talk to me about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she had came to a point where she wanted to commit suicide and stuff.
Mm.
And it's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else she going on, but
Yeah.
I never created that space where she felt like she had
You
a
didn't create
friend
a
to
safe
come
place.
talk to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now, I mean, that's better now or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just say that to parents who always say like, bro, I'm not your friend, I'm your parent. Now you shutting me up.
Yeah. I think it. I think it depends on the personality of the child. You know, because some kids you can't do that with. You know, some kids will take advantage of that and believe that they're your equal, and then it can backfire to where they won't listen to you because they don't respect the hierarchy. So I think it depends on the personality of the child, and I think it depends on the maturity level and the age of the child. Because my mother was like that. My mother, you know, was like my best friend, and you know, she was the cool mom, you know, of the neighborhood. So it was we were cool. We would hang out. She would listen to Too Short with me, play video games with me, all of that. But there was still a very definitive line that we
Yeah.
cool, but I'm your parent. I'm your mama. I'm not your friend. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's good. And also what I tell kids, you know, I talk to a lot of young adults, and you know they go through things with their parents. That's a part of life, you know.
Yeah.
But what I tell young adults, I admonish them to, you know, give your parents a break, you know, because you don't know their story, you know, you don't know what they've went through, and a lot of times, you know, sometimes they just may not have it to give, you know, you don't know why. You just got to meet them where they are, because at some point you're going to need that same grace, because you will become a parent and you will make your own mistakes. You may say, hey, I'm not going to do what my parents did, but you're going to do what you do. And then your kids are going to be looking at you sideways. You may didn't do what your parents did, but you did your own mistakes, you know.
Right.
So, you know, grace and mercy, you know, that's what I kind of, as you get older, you start to understand that. And that's how I live my life, with grace and mercy. And that's what that's how you maintain your peace,
Yes.
with grace and mercy. You meet people where they are. You don't impose your will upon people. You know, you just, I'm almost like a monk at this point. You know what I'm saying? You just allow things to be what they are. Control is an illusion. The best thing that we can do is try to influence the outcome that we want by doing our part. But that's all we can do. At the end of the day, it's going to be what it's going to be, you know?
Do you believe in open communication with your kids?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
So allowing them to express themselves and
Absolutely.
yeah.
To a degree. Yes, now, because you have to understand, my kids are adults now. But when they were younger, I'm going to say probably not so much so, because, you know, I'm a Gen Xer. So I come from the generation of, you know what I'm saying? Like, who are you? Don't question me. You know, I don't have to explain myself to you. That's the generation that we came from. So I think maybe my wife and I, it was a balance. You know, it was a little balance. You can say a little bit of something, not too much. You know what I mean? Like, what's your problem? We didn't even get that. It was just, you better fix your face.
Oh no.
You know what I mean? You couldn't. You slam a door. That's a show of aggression. If you sigh, that's aggression. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know. So I think we did it maybe a little bit different, because we would ask, "What's your problem?" You know, and then commence to trying to have a dialogue and explain. But nah, we didn't play that. My mama would just be like, "Because I said so," and that's that.
See, I personally, that's what I came up under too. But
yeah.
I just think it's the wrong way,
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, it doesn't allow them to. Now, respect me when you talking to me.
That's right.
I even like something that Kevin Hart does. He allows, I think he said, he allows like one day a week when they at the table, they all at the table and they all just like express exactly how they feel. Just
Yeah.
get it out right now,
Yeah.
and then we'll all take it in or whatever. But yeah, I won't open because when my parents were saying, "Are you calling me a liar?" I mean, you kind of lying though right now, but I can't express that to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But you are lying, indeed,
Yeah.
you are lying, and
Yeah.
I think that just shuts me off from you. You know?
You know what? Some shit you just got to take on the chin. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Listen, my father is 81 years old.
Uh-huh.
That's part of the reason that I'm here, right, in town. You know, I didn't grow up with my dad yet. I'm looking after him. You know what I mean? I'm advocating for him. I'm doing the right thing as a child.
Yeah.
You know, and even me almost 50, him 81, I have never asked him, well, hey man, you know, what happened? Like, why you dropped the ball? Yeah, why you didn't care to come around? Or why, you know what I mean? You know why? Because I feel like that's not my place. It's not my place. He's still my father. That's just not my place. It's just, and that's just how I was raised. I feel like it's
Yeah.
just certain things that it's just not your place. You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's right or wrong. It's just
Yeah.
not. It's not my place to question him. Not that I'm looking for any type of answer, but if I did want that, I would be like, I ain't gonna worry about it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or let's just say if I did, I would tiptoe very lightly around that. And that's just how my mother, you know, I think that's what she instilled in me was there's a hierarchy, you know, and I respect the hierarchy. You know, I think that, you know, there's a hierarchy in the family. There's hierarchies in business. They're for a reason. There's structure. You know what I mean? And I think when there's no structure and there's no markers in place, you know, then you have anarchy. There's no who's gonna listen to anyone if
Yeah.
everybody think they know it all, you know, and there's no boundaries. You know, the reason that you respect me is because I have more experience than you. I may have made a misstep there, but at the end of the day, I've been here longer than you. But if I kind of put us on the same playing field, then I'm ineffective trying to guide you.
Yeah.
Because now I can't guide you because you're right next to me. You know what I mean? And you're gonna feel like you can take me somewhere. You're not qualified to take me anywhere. You haven't been here. You know, so you see, and that could be just the Gen Xer in me.
I mean, you said you won't know anything, but if I don't ask, how am I going to know?
What do you mean?
As far as like, I should be able to ask you, Pops, what made you be like that? So, because I don't want you to die and me not knowing I got these emotions about you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, damn, Pops really went through it.
Yeah, but what did I say? Some shit you just got to take on the chin. That's life.
Yeah.
We don't, sometime on this side of eternity, we don't get answers to everything.
That's bad communication though, right?
I don't think so, because I didn't ask him about it. So we not
Well,
communicating
not just
about
you.
it.
I'm just talking about in the world. Like, y'all always say in order to learn us, we have to learn our history and
Yes,
learn the
I agree.
So I don't need to know, but I think it's important to know your history. Where do you come from? What happened to you?
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, but in a sense like that, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't feel comfortable, you know, questioning him. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about you particularly.
Yeah. But what you're saying
just
makes a lot of sense, though. Yeah, I agree with you.
I remember you said something like I liked myself, I didn't love myself or whatever.
Yes.
When you feel like you start to hit that point where you found the difference.
Yeah. Maybe in my 30s. Yeah, in my 30s. Yeah, I couldn't have loved myself making the decisions I was making. You know, you can't. You know what I'm saying? So, and I had to learn the difference. You know, you put yourself in peril. You make reckless decisions. You know, you just. I've never really been a selfish person, but you know, just doing dumb shit. I mean, just living, you know, the journey of life, bumping your head, but sometimes bumping your head unnecessarily when you know better, you know, and you've been taught better, you know. So, yeah, I say about my 30s is when I really started understanding the difference and like, okay, if you really love you, then you wouldn't put yourself in this predicament. You wouldn't make that choice. maybe you wouldn't think like that. Maybe you shouldn't, go that place, or maybe you shouldn't be around that guy if you really love yourself. You know what I'm saying? So it's a difference.
I just thought about something. Because the importance of this platform is for your children or anybody who's looking at this to be able to see, oh, yeah, he went through that. So hopefully I ain't got to
That's
go
right.
through that. You got
Absolutely.
So when you do all these different platforms, you documenting your life.
That's right.
And you putting on.
Yeah.
But if your child was to ask, and I'm not talking about particularly you, but if
Yes.
your child was to ask you that, you like, that's not your place. But you could go to a platform or let
Yes.
a film director put you
Yeah.
in a documentary or whatever
Yes.
and tell them. But I just wanted to know for myself on a
Yeah.
more personal level.
Yeah.
So when you think about it in that aspect, like you would give it to them before you would give it to me.
Well, I can understand that. Me personally, again, my kids are grown.
Yeah.
Right. So my kids. So when I used to hustle, right, my daughter Rachel Renee, who's 31 now, she was in school,
Twins.
and yeah, huh?
I said twins, by the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, yeah. She was in school. She used to count my money for me. You know what I mean? I exposed her to a lot. And I remember she may have been 10, 11, 12 years old. And I asked her one day, I said, do you know what daddy does? And she was like, yeah, you work. You do music. I said, do you know what else daddy does? She said, yeah. She said, you sell weed. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, the reason that I'm asking you that, because in case something happens to me, I don't want anybody else trying to tell you who I am.
That's fire.
And that was just being 100 with her. In case something happened to me, I don't want that narrative to be skewed. You know exactly who I am because I told you. So she didn't have to ask me who I was. You know what I'm saying? I told her. And I showed her.
Yeah, you open to it. Yeah,
I was open to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of that could be because we kind of grew up together too. Me having her so young. But my two younger kids, see, my daughter was there for the glow up. She remembers me not having a car and catching the metro in my first car, her mama's first car. You know what I'm saying? So she was there. My other two, all they know is behind the gate.
Yeah.
They don't know. She knows. My daughters. It's funny. Some kids have these memories of, oh, I remember my daddy took me fishing and all of that. And yes, my daughter had recitals. I put her in martial arts. She went to Smith Sisters right up on Prospect. Used to take her there, all of that. I attended everything. I missed nothing with my kids. But her memory, I remember her telling me this one time. She's like, Daddy, I remember when you had that blue Cutlass with the chrome Daytons and the blue spokes. And you used to let me sit on your lap and I used to hit the switches and you had that silver gun under your leg. She was like, they used to be so fun. And when she said it, again, I'm removed now. I was like, damn, that sound bad. You know what I mean? Like, damn. but then I kind of was like, damn. But then I was like, I had you at 16. Fuck you want from me. I did the best I could. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I understand that
I
completely.
did the best I could.
How you raising your son though, as far as like, because knowing what your dad came from.
Yes.
Meaning you, not your dad. Him knowing what his dad came from, seeing what's going on online now, TV and all of that, and how you raising him to be a good man, I guess. Like,
man, listen, my son is the sweetest young man that you would ever meet. He's 23. He'll be 24 this month. He is the sweetest young man that you would ever meet. He has his mother's spirit. Me and my daughter, my oldest daughter, Rachel Renee, she is me. She's my twin, right? For better or for worse. We are acquired personalities. You got to warm up to us. Like, it's a 50-50 shot if people going to like us. But my son and my wife, they have these spirits that just people love. People gravitate toward them. They're just the best, sweetest people. So my son, he has a different disposition. And also, my son is on the spectrum, My son is on the spectrum, and he actually graduates UCLA this month, next month. So he's had his challenges, just having a learning disability, being speech delayed. But he's man, he's the one of the best people that I've ever met. You know, he really is. He's a sweet boy. Like everywhere he goes, he was super popular in high school. It was, you know, I was more worried about my son than my wife. Like I coddled him, I babied him. You know what I mean? Because I knew he had special needs, and I knew how kids could be, and it was such the opposite. When he went to school, he was on a track team. You know, he excelled. He does MMA. He boxes. He's an actor. You know, and when I would go up to his high school, like everybody would be like, "Hey, Courtney, hi, Courtney," and he knew everybody's name. I'd be like, "Who is that?" Like, "That's Josh, Dad." "Oh, okay." "Hey, Courtney." I was like, "Who that?" "That's Tiffany." Like, now mind you, he was in special classes. These are all the normal kids. You know what I mean? "Quote unquote" normal kids. You know what I'm saying? So, man, my son he's amazing. He is amazing. But yeah, he graduates UCLA through all his hurdles of having a learning disability, being on the spectrum. You know, he had, you know, kidney stones and all kind of, you know, little stuff. But yeah, he's an awesome young man.
So would you say your son made you softer too?
If anybody did, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, more so than my daughters. Now that you say it out loud, yes. And he shaved a couple years off my life too. You know, worrying about him when he was when he was a kid. Oh my God. Cause, you know, it's something to say about when you have a child with special needs, and especially when it's something that you don't have a reference point. You know, out of sight, out of mind. We didn't know nothing about that, you know. And so, you know, as he was developing, you know, there were certain markers he wasn't hitting. And so when they told us, they was like, "Yeah, you know, we think he may be on the spectrum. He may be autistic." We didn't know what that meant, right? And so, you know, we went through the proper channels. We had to accept it. We had to accept because my wife for a long time, she would not accept that title. You know, she God fearing. Hey, no, God can fix this. You know what I mean? He gonna be just fine. And I accepted it probably before she did. I was like, nah, this little nigga ain't talking. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So let's deal with it. You know. And so, you know, but I'm so thankful that God gave him to us. You know what I'm saying? Because we could love on him, and we could, you know, protect him, and we could nurture him, and we could push him, you know, because a lot of times some kids that don't have that foundation of love and support, you know, they go to the wayside, they fall through the cracks, you know. So I'm glad that God gave him to us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Again, he's got trophies. He's got, you know, we would say this thing in my house, like sometime with my daughters, when they would fall short and miss the marker, we would be like, what the hell? Like, your brother's the one got the problem on paper. How is he getting better grades than y'all? You know what I mean? Like, make it make sense, you know. But yeah, man, you know, but my son, he taught me, you know, because I didn't have my dad and I had never been shown love and affection from a man. You know, when I had my son, it was awkward for me. You know, I do remember that. And this was in my 20s. And I had to work through that because my father-in-law was the only man, or the first man, that ever used to hug me and kiss me and tell me, "Hey, I love you, son." And even then I would kind of stiffen up, you know. And so I think, yeah. And I remember having my son, I was like, man, do I dap this dude up, or like, you know, do we shake hands? Like, what we do, you know what I mean? But oddly enough, bro, this is anybody will tell you, this man is about to be 24 years old. I hug and kiss him every day. I call him baby. You know. And it's so funny because, you know, everybody be like, "Boy, you love that boy. You baby that boy." And I was like, yeah, that's my baby. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. I still, you know, I give him that man shit. You know, he knows how to fight. He's still a man. He knows that when I'm gone, he's the man of the house. I teach him how to deal with and protect his sisters and his mom, and how a man should comport himself. But man, I kiss and hug him all the time. I see him and I be like, "Boy, come here." And I be like, "You know what I want?" He be like, "Yeah, Dad, you want a hug?" I'm like, "Yeah." You know what I'm saying? "Give me a hug." So, you know. So I broke that generational curse.
You see?
I broke that one.
You see how you changed the what? I mean, even with communicating,
Yeah.
you broke that too.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you wasn't getting that type of communication from your father.
Right.
And like you said, that generation was more.
Absolutely.
You heard what I said.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you gave it to him. So
I
I
did.
think you need to give yourself a
did.
little more
I
credit
did.
for change. And we got to
Yeah.
evolve.
Yeah, bro. I can say that, man. You know, I did. I've broken a few generational curses. And listen, I don't want this to come off as I'm far from perfect. You know, I'm a human.
Yeah.
I'm a baby in this world like everybody else, trying to find their way. But I can say that I think one of my superpowers is that I am able to be 110% real with myself, no matter how uncomfortable my circumstances or situation is. I'm able to confront it for exactly what it is and accept it. You know, so I think sometimes that, and I think maybe that's what they call accountability. Like, there's
Yeah.
been times I've lost in business. There've been times where maybe I've misspoke and created situations, and I can say, I'll talk to myself and say, Courtney, yeah, you fucked that up. This is on you. You know, this is your fault. You lost because you did not have the proper education. You were not prepared. And that's why. And I believe that's important because it's easier to blame than it is to change.
Yeah.
It's easier to say it was because of this, it was because of that, because of mom and daddy, because of this. And that has nothing to do with the choices you make when you're an adult. You know, I think there's an expiration age and date to where you can blame mom and daddy, you know, where you just start making choices, you know. And so that's what I did, bro. And I didn't do these things flawlessly, you know. I learned much more in failure than I ever did in victory, you know.
Of course.
So I think, quite frankly, that's why I have been able to be successful at having a family, you know, and you know, I have no outside kids, no blended family. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying. But I think that's just attributed to I've made a lot of fucking mistakes. You know what I mean? But that's just indicative of me trying,
Yes.
you know. So
I mean, we'd be remiss not to mention your other daughter. I mean, you didn't mention everybody else.
yes,
You got to get a mention.
My
bro.
other daughter, yes.
Yeah.
Man, let me tell you something. My other daughter, I won't even embarrass my wife and tell the story of, you know, how I remember when all my kids were conceived. But my daughter was.
Please tell us.
I do. I remember when all my kids were conceived. My daughter was conceived in my twin bed in my mama's house. My oldest daughter.
Obviously,
My
in the
son
twin
was
bed.
was conceived on the stairs when my wife was finna go to work and she had on this little short dress. And then my youngest daughter, my wife, she was hell bent on having one more child. Now I'm an only child. You know, I was like, you keep having all these fucking kids, we ain't gonna never have shit. Like, you know, we gonna be raising kids.
Yeah.
So I remember she had that wheel, that ovulation wheel in her hand. She was like, today's the day I'm ovulating. I need this baby. And I'm fine. I'm like, nah. You know, she like, all right, well, you know, you know, and so so I fell for the banana in the tailpipe and bam, she got that baby. But man, when I tell you, my youngest daughter, Courtney, her name is Courtney as well. My son is Courtney the third. My youngest daughter is Courtney as well.
Okay. George Foreman.
Yes. Man, listen, my youngest daughter is amazing. She has more talent in the tip of her finger than I have in my entire body. And my mother passed away in 2010. So, and when I tell you that my daughter is a reincarnation of her grandmother, you know, and I actually call her mama. And it's funny because I asked her recently, I said, hey, I said, do you know why I call you? I said, you know why I call you mama? And she said, yeah, I think so. I said, why? She said, because I look so much like grandma. I said, yeah, you know. And she acts like my mother. She looks like my mother. Mannerisms, just reincarnated. So I was very, very thankful for that. Not even knowing, you know what I'm saying? So, because, you know, my mother passed away young. So, yeah, man. You know, my youngest daughter is amazing. She plays the classical piano. She's an artist. She can draw. I'm talking about super talented. She styles Rachel Renee, my daughter. So when you see my daughter's makeup and her custom outfits, my youngest daughter styles
And how
her.
old is she?
She is 19. She goes to she's in college too. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, salute to you too. I forgot you Northeast alumni. I am too.
Oh yeah, Northeast
Yeah,
Viking, bro.
straight up.
Viking for life.
You've been with your wife since you was 15?
Yes.
Since you was 15?
Mm-hmm.
One woman through that's tough, bro.
Yeah.
That's tough, and I gotta commend that.
Yeah.
When did you know that you had to marry? Not had to, but
Yeah.
I'm marrying her.
Shit. The first day I met her.
Really?
Yeah.
How long did it take y'all to get married? I know you get married in 15.
No. 99. So we met in 92.
Okay.
Yeah, 91, 92, 92. Yeah, so 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. Like I knew she was a hell of a woman because my wife was older than me. So I knew she was a hell of a woman when I met her. You know
So
what I
you
mean?
was 17 when you was 15?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And but I ain't had shit to offer. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. For the first probably 10 years of us being together, I couldn't figure out why that woman was there. You know what I mean? I'll be very honest with you. I was like,
I can understand that.
what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? And she would get angry with me because I'd be like, you're a professional. Like, you have a degree. You work with doctors and shit. Like, why are you slumming with me? But I'll say this. You know, as you said earlier, when you said God forbid, right? God forbid if my wife and I ever split, she would be good for life because she was one person that saw something in me and believed in me before I believed in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the honest to God truth. You know, she always saw something in me, always was a champion for me. And I'm not just saying that for the camera, like on some real shit. So, yeah, you know what I mean? Like I knew I had a winner as a kid, you know what I'm saying? Which made me kind of like, man, I don't know about this. Like I always felt like she was too good for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes to this day, I still feel like that. You know, I feel like, damn, you could have did better. I mean, I've done okay, but I just feel like you could have did better. You know what I mean? But you know, maybe it should be like that. When you properly love your woman, you put her on a pedestal. You know what I mean? You put her. I think it's okay when the man loves the woman a little bit more. You know.
Mrs. What was I about to say? I totally kind of going back to your mom,
Mm-hmm.
your best friend, losing your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that take you?
Man, that was the darkest moment of my big age. You know, in my 48 years, that was the darkest moment in my life. You know, you talk about depression. You know, I went through a major depression a few years, probably for the following 4 or 5 years after she passed. You know, suicide, thoughts of suicide, lost, guilt. You know what I mean? You know, the devil. Ooh, he was. You know, he moved in. You know, he brought. You know, he brought a bed. He brought food. He brought everything. He moved in here, and laid dormant. And you know, yeah, it was rough. That was rough. That's probably the worst time of my life. Yeah. And you know, I'm thankful that, you know, listen, I was a good son. You know,
Yeah.
she told me that. I never disrespected my mother a day in my life. It wasn't in my heart to do. I just, you know, she didn't raise me like that. I bought my mom a house. I was able to buy her a house. I was able to take care of her. I actually bought her the house that she passed away in. You know, I did the best that I could. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she told me she was proud of me. You know, and so I mean, you know, I think it's inevitable, but I think when you lose someone at such a young age, you know, my mother was 56, and so sudden, you know, I think it's different when you can walk your elderly parent to the finish line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you have time and you can prepare, and they're old and you know they've done all they can do. You know, but when it's young and it's sudden and it's just kind of like, man, that's a different type of pain. And then me being away, and then also it opened up the door for me to grieve my grandmother, because when my grandmother passed away, my mother and I lived with my grandmother. And ironically, my grandmother was 56 when she died too, and my mother was 33 years old, as I was 33 years old too when my mom died. In similar circumstances, my grandmother was completely healthy, and she went to work one day and never came home. They found her next to her car. She had had a massive stroke. She had just got back from a cruise. She wasn't obese. She wasn't overweight. She was a slender woman, very well kept. And that devastated my mother, which caused my mother to deal with her grief and depression, through alcohol and drugs. So I had to watch that. That was probably the second darkest part of my life, was watching her struggle with her, and to some degree judging at a young age, judging because I didn't understand. Losing your mom like that. Now, mind you, me and my mother were on good terms. Imagine losing your mother when you're not on good terms. Not understanding my mother's walk, not understanding her struggles. I would judge with some of the decisions she made. But as I got older, I understood, like, damn, now here you are in the hot seat. What you gonna do? And then I remember thinking to myself, like, so you was judging your mom for drinking or for getting high. You sitting here with a gun in your mouth. You know what I mean? Like, so who's talking? You know what I'm saying? Like, so, yeah.
Man, I appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, for sure.
Shout out
If
to
I had to kept talking, tears was gonna start. Just so you caught it right there.
Man, you were just talking about crying on your but shout out to C-Dub for being this link to this, because I appreciate this. You are an inspiration coming from here and making it to that, especially having nice tea on your platform.
Yeah.
And
That's the homie.
I forgot his name. Sweetness. Sweet. I always call him Sweetness.
Wesley
from
Jonathan.
Rover. Yeah. That's hard. You care to leave us marked out?
Marked out.
Some words, and we leave our minds and our hearts marked out with some.
Oh yeah,
some words.
Yeah, it's so much I could say. Yeah, coming out, that was a crazy transition. I got to bring myself back now. Man, listen, I would just tell people to, take it all in. You know what I mean? Life is short. I know that sounds cliche.
Yeah.
At this stage, like my daughter, my daughter is, she's like my brand manager. But I'm saying that to say, at this point, I'm taking cues from her with things with my career. That's a beautiful thing, but it's a sobering thing too, because now it makes me know that I got more time in back of me than I have in front of me. You know what I mean? So remain in a space of gratitude, understand that, this life is very, very short. You're going to be dead a whole lot longer than you're alive, And so when you make decisions in life, make them predicated on, the scale of life. Things may seem super big and heavy right now, but when you put it on the scale of life, if this was your last day on earth, what you're tripping off of, would you care? You know what I mean? So with that, if you're able to think from that space, you know what I'm saying, to now, it brings a lot of clarity to how you live your life. So yeah, that's, as I always say, you live life long enough, it'll teach you how to live.
The goal is to leave a lasting imprint on their minds and their hearts. We pray you've been indelibly marked.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
For sure.
My brother.